Welcome, Eugene Cannabis TV. You made episode 537, and you got DanK here and Jeremy on my right. We've got some, probably the biggest thing we got tonight is an editorial from the Register Guard. We're talking about legalization. I'll jump into the legalization initiative real quick if you don't know. Initiative 21 and 22 campaigns have abandoned their effort. It's just too short on time and too far away, so Paul Stanford threw in the towel on that. So we're down to Initiative 53, and that one got some federal funding, so they've been gathering signatures, and they had a signature turn in last week of 145,000. And they need just under 88,000. So there should be more than enough to make up for any bad signatures that they picked up along the way. Plus, they're going to have another signature turn in this week to pick up the last one. So if anybody has Measure 53 initiatives out there to turn in, get them turned in, or get a hold of me and I'll get them turned in for you. But it looks like it's definitely going to be the ballot, and I believe it'll be on the ballot, it'll pass. So it'll be interesting to see. So let me jump right into this editorial. The Eugene Register Guard generally has most their opinions on marijuana wrong. They a couple of times stumble down and make a few wise comments, but this is a mixed bag like most of them. This was published on the 24th of June. The editorial titled "One Pot Vote is Plenty," with a subtitle, "Oregon Won't See Competing Legalization Initiatives."
Oregon might easily have joined Colorado and Washington State in voting to legalize marijuana 2 years ago. But the sponsors of Oregon's legalization measure overreached, presenting the voters with a proposal that crossed the line from legalization into advocacy. The initiative's extreme language drove away the deep-pocketed national supporters who helped bankroll the marijuana legalization campaigns in Washington and Colorado, and Measure 80 won only 47% of the vote. Marijuana legalization appeared to be on course for another self-inflicted defeat this year. There might have been as many as 3 pot measures on the November ballot, creating the political crossfire heavy enough to induce voters to oppose all of them. I'm not sure that's what would have happened, but... I
don't either. In fact, I made a note here. Back up a minute there. When you mentioned that Measure 80 won only 47% of the vote, I marked that. Only? That's incredible. We had no campaign money. We had no national support. We had an initiative that wasn't liked by a lot of people. We had a chief petitioner with baggage. And only 47%. That's fantastic. To get that close to 51% and winning is incredible. And so 47 is the highest percentage that any marijuana initiative has ever achieved in the state of Oregon. So it's not only. So, and then the other thing, like Jeremy was saying, is having enough to induce voters to oppose them all. That's completely, I don't know where they come up with that idiot thought, but people aren't going to be confused. People that really wanted legalization would have signed all 3 of them. There was talk of what do we do if all 3 were to pass. But anyway, you want me to continue, or you want to?
I'll continue.
Okay.
But Oregon appears likely to face a single marijuana legalization initiative backed and vetted by national groups with the resources to wage a credible campaign. The prospect of voter confusion was greatly reduced when medical marijuana entrepreneur Paul Stanford, the sponsor of two of the competing initiatives, raised the white flag, saying he would be unable to collect the required number of petition signatures by the state's June 3rd deadline, which is a shame because personally I thought that his looked a lot better than the one that's going through.
Yep, I did too. I
mean, he got all of the medical marijuana stuff in Oregon, right? Stanford was also a chief petitioner for Measure 80, and this time around he was still aiming well high. One of his proposals would have amended the Oregon Constitution to give people the right to possess and cultivate marijuana. The second proposal contained statutory language implementing the constitutional amendment. Even for many supporters, the question of whether people should be able to smoke pot without fear of arrest doesn't rise to the level of a constitutional question. Stanford's withdrawal leaves just one pot measure headed for the ballot. Its sponsors, New Approach Oregon, say they will deliver their initiative petitions to the Secretary of State this week. New Approach has received six-figure checks from several national groups, including the financier George Soros Drug Policy Action Organization and the family of late Peter Lewis, who made a fortune in the insurance industry. Both Soros and Lewis helped finance Washington State's legalization measure. And that's alarming if that's the one that's going through, because Washington State is the one that's not working how they wrote it.
Yeah.
Oregonians will need time to study the details of the New Approach proposal and to decide how they feel about out-of-state billionaires dabbling in their state's politics. Oregonians will also want to continue keeping an eye on Colorado and Washington, where state officials, consumers, and the emerging marijuana industry are wrestling with little foreseen issues of concern, such as those presented by edible products infused with marijuana, products that can appeal to children and are of unregulated potency. Well, they say that the edible products are unregulated potency, but they're referring to the medical marijuana ones, I believe, and they are regulated potency because they do have to be tested just like everything else, and they're packaged in such a way that they're not appealing to children, so they're just laying on more or to try and make it sound worse than it is. But with it's just one measure on the ballot, it will be simpler to focus on the details of implementation as well as the larger principles involved: personal liberty, the costs and efficiency of the drug war, the social and economic effects of putting together another legal intoxicant on the shelf, and the consequences for young people. With Stanford's withdrawal, the prospect for a prospective debate on these issues has improved. I'm not sure I completely agree. I think he was the one that was getting things a step in the right direction, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the one that's going through.
Yeah, in fact, the last sentence is 180 off. With Stanford's withdrawal, the prospect for a productive debate on these issues has improved. No, it went the opposite direction, because with three initiatives that's when you could have the argument of which is the best initiative and which way to go. So no, anyway, I disagree with that last sentence especially. So anyway, I remember years ago someone referred to the Register Guard as a liberal newspaper, and I told my wife, well, if they're liberal, then I must be a flaming radical, and she said, oh, you are. So, but anyway, one announcement thing, I want to mention the Growers to Patients website. I've been bringing this up fairly often, and this is a concept that works. And the reason I know it works is it worked for me. I found a patient. I was looking for a couple of patients to grow for, looked for quite a while, and finally used this website, and that's where I found my first patient, out of Albany. I found my second patient through the cannabis. What's David's dispensary's name? I forget.
Emerald Medicinal
Delivery, right?
They don't do deliveries anymore.
I know, but they still call it delivery, though, right?
They changed their name, but I don't know that they ever completely changed.
Anyway, anyways, a referral from them that I got my second patient. But anyway, back to the growers to patients. This is a way for patients to find growers and for growers to find patients. That's been a problem there since the medical marijuana law was enacted, is trying to get people together. Constantly you find one looking for the other, but how do you get them together? Well, this way they can get together, and there's no charge and no cost involved. It's anonymous. You're on a forum. You can communicate before you even meet. See if you even want to meet. But it's we need more and more people to use it and trying to get the word out. So check it out. That's growers, and then the number 2, and then patients. That's plural. Growers, and then the number 2, and patients.net. So check it out and use it, and hopefully we can get everybody together where they need to be. And the Hempfest, we've got to talk about the Hempfest. We're meeting volunteer meetings now. Every Saturday we're meeting at the park, the Maury Jacobs Park, and that's at 2 o'clock, or on the concrete slab by the bathrooms. And the next 2 meetings will be this coming Saturday, the 5th, and after that will be the 12th. And of course, then the event starts on the 18th. And
the 12th will be the last meeting, so everybody who wants to volunteer should come to that one and pick what shifts they want to do.
Exactly.
We still need lots of volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. Sign up so we know who's coming. We're going to have T-shirts this year. We only have a fixed amount of shirts, so we've got to make sure that people that get their shirts are really there to help, and so it's going to be kind of a process to get it all straightened out and squared away. But we do have shirts, and they're going to be pretty neat. The cannabis information booth we're doing up at the Wayne Morse Free Speech Plaza across from Saturday Market. I try to stay away from saying we're at Saturday Market, because we're not at Saturday Market. Saturday Market doesn't want to have anything to do with us, so therefore I don't want it to have anything to do with Saturday Market. So they're just across the street.
About right.
But anyway, we're by the flagpoles, and we'll be there this Saturday for sure. So the main thing now is, now that the signature drive is over, now we need to get people registered to vote. So we'll be registering voters. And a reminder is, the state of Oregon, felons can vote. Now listen up, felons can vote. It's a very common misconception, because a lot of states, felons cannot vote. But Oregon, you can vote. I have a flyer, a poster that we can hand out. So anyway, I want to tell you about that. So we're going to come back to the second half, and stand by and be ready to come back with some more news.
Are you tired of following all the rules? Ready to let loose? Have a little fun? Sounds like you need to. Get high. And with Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, you can. Narcomex values your business. That's why we're your #1 supplier of drugs, and you're our #1 consumer. These billions can't be wrong. We work hard for your business and have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 Mexican police and 2 journalists just to keep you high with that very joint. Why, our commitment to keeping you supplied has killed over 17,000 people right next door. Traffickers, soldiers, journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations. Because if you smoke enough at home, you don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. Narcomex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
Welcome back to Eugene Cannabis TV, a second episode of episode 537. And you got DanK here and Jeremy on my right. I want to jump right into a story that was in the Aspen Daily News, and that's written by Chad Abram, and this was on the 1st of June, written on the 1st of, or published on the 1st of June. Attorney, even with legal pot, plenty for NORML to do. With Colorado's cannabis industry flourishing after legalization in 2012, it's easy to assume that the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws might not have much of a role in the state any longer. But Keith Stropp, NORML's founder and former longtime executive director, said the organization's role in Colorado in many ways is more important than it ever was. He spoke Thursday during a break in the Colorado chapter's annual meeting in Aspen, a pause that came with the announcement that good things were available on the rooftop patio of the Gantt. The Ganjified gathering drew defense attorneys, a group from Texas called Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition, some members of which were bewildered by the ease of procuring cannabis at dispensaries, and Pitkin County Sheriff Joe DeSalvo, who told the assembled about local efforts to address legalization. Discussions included the efficacy of police roadside tests in determining cannabis impairment, cross-examining the NARC, and federal responses to legalization. Stroop, a Virginia resident who nearly moved to Colorado after Amendment 64 passed in 2012, according to celebstoner.com, said, NORML has always been a consumer-focused legalization group. We represent the smokers, not the industry, he said. I like the industry, but what consumers want is a high-quality product that's safe, convenient, and affordable. Consumers want the product tested in a laboratory for molds and pesticides, and to gauge the THC and the
cannabinol levels.
Cannabinol levels. I travel that word. It's like the word aluminum when I was a kid.
Which is CBD, the one that's good for pain.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's and there's no reason we can't. But we can't even ask for that. But we couldn't even ask for that when it was a crime to smoke, he said. Now that it's not, those are the issues Colorado NORML is focusing on. Other policy areas include workplace ramifications of legal cannabis. Why should you be able to be fired if you smoke a joint when it's legal to smoke it, Stroop said. And child custody cases in which a person can lose custody of their kid if they use cannabis. There doesn't have to be any showing that you are an unfit parent, he said. That's BS. It's time to get over that. Uber defense lawyer Larry Goldstein, a part-time Aspen resident, introduced DeSalvo as the head of the, quote, most enlightened, compassionate, fair-minded law enforcement in the fricking country. I used a little different word there. DeSalvo spoke briefly about Aspen's history with marijuana and how the Upper Valley is handling the introduction of legal cannabis. Ever since I've lived in Aspen, marijuana has been part of our culture here, he said. It's part of the ski culture. We have long been smoking on chairlifts here. It's kind of a performance-enhancing drug for skiers.
So that's why they like skiing in Aspen so much.
Amendment 64 passed in Pitkin County by a 75% margin, which tells me that this community is very much in favor of marijuana, DeSalvo said. He explained the ideas behind the Valley Marijuana Council, which brought together stakeholders in the community, including law enforcement, Aspen Valley Hospital, and the Aspen schools, and those in the marijuana industry. As for adolescents and marijuana, DeSalvo said the message the council wants to get out is delay, delay, delay. I think we can all admit in this room that this is not a product for brains under construction, he said. Stroop said there will be issues in any state that legalizes marijuana and that it's tough to implement a perfect model right off the bat. We're not going to think of everything, he said, but I think it's a damn good model for a first shot. Colorado has just changed the politics of legalization. So there you have it, and that's in Colorado, and from what it looks like, it seems to be Colorado has the best of the two systems. Unfortunately, I understand 53 is more like Washington, is what I've been
That's what I'm hoping isn't true.
So, yeah, and so again, 53 isn't our first choice, but it's definitely one that needs to pass. It's definitely an improvement. So, even though it may have some issues about it or with it,
any
you can't
legalization initiative is worth voting for.
Exactly.
You can always change it along the way.
Exactly.
35 pages, did you say?
35 pages. That's the thing.
Just 35 pages. 35, I'm sure there's some room for improvement in there somewhere.
Exactly. And but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's that's what I find aggravating, is to be working on trying to get a legalization initiative on the ballot, and finally got one on. The first one since this is be the second one. The second one since 1986 to make it on the Oregon on the Oregon ballot, and then it has somebody say, "Well, I don't want to vote for that one because even the plant limit issue." The octa was 6 plants, but the one that did make it on, that is going to be on the ballot, is 53, and it only allows 4 plants. So some people are complaining about that, but again, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's get the thing on the ballot.
This is an article from April 15th. Hawaii legislator overwhelmingly passes hemp bill. A side note, Hawaii was the first state to pass medical marijuana through the legislature. Hawaii's full legislature has overwhelmingly passed as Senate Bill L-2175, a proposal to establish a 2-year hemp research program. The measure now heads to the governor for consideration. If signed into law by the governor or allowed to become law without his signature, Senate Bill 2175 would authorize the Dean of the College of Tropical Agricultural and Human Resources at the University of Hawaii to establish a 2-year industrial hemp remediation and biofuel research program. The dean would be permitted to submit a final report to the legislature prior to the convening of the regular session of 2016. Remediation, which is also referred to as photo remediation, is the practice of using plants to remove toxins such as crude oils from the soil. This progressive bipartisan bill would keep Hawaii on the cutting edge of agricultural research, help the state realize the economic capabilities of the crop, and potentially restore land previously damaged by earlier contamination, says Representative Cynthia Thalen. Its ability to cleanse the soil of toxins and heavy metals, industrial hemp could be an environmentally friendly alternative to existing methods. She continues, using industrial hemp as a photo remediator also removes the need to evacuate or relocate topsoil and contaminated lands, drastically decreasing costs and curtailing the spread of toxic waste to other areas.
Also, Hawaii was the first state to pass the medical marijuana bill through the legislature. It was not a voter referendum like it had been up to that time. And so I always thought that was quite commendable to the state of Hawaii. And so here we have, now this is a dated article. This is dated April 15th, so it's a fairly dated article, but we wanted to, now that we're doing more and more emphasis on hemp, I need to bring that out to point out to everybody that Hawaii has overwhelmingly passed a hemp bill too. So it's pretty cool to have that support there. This is an interesting story out of the LA Times, latimes.com, written by Jenny Deem, dated May 27th. Colorado's neighbors dismayed by new wave of marijuana traffic. Sheriff John Zinchen watched the 2012 election returns crawling across his TV screen in his rural area over the Colorado border. Tuned to a Denver news station, he soon realized Colorado voters are about to legalize recreational marijuana. That's when he turned to his wife and started to swear. I felt just sick, he remembers. The drug war in this country used to be along the U.S.-Mexican border. Now it's 8 miles away. I love that line. Although legalization continues to be celebrated within Colorado, its next-door neighbors are none too pleased. In fact, many are furious. Law enforcement officers in the smaller, often isolated counties and states ringing Colorado say their departments shudder under the weight of Colorado pot flowing illegally across the border. Drug arrests are rising, straining already strapped budgets in places where marijuana remains illegal. It has just devastated these smaller agencies, says Tom Gorman, director of the federally funded Rocky Mountain High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Program, a network of law enforcement organizations in 4 western states. The marijuana laws in Colorado are supposed to eliminate the black market, but in effect, they have become the black market. This is what I like. There's about a dozen back roads into my county from Colorado. I've got 8 deputies. If I had every one of them take a road and sit on it day and night, there are still 4 roads left, says Jensen, the Cheyenne County Sheriff. He is so angry that he has not set foot in Colorado for 2 years. Here in the deep red heart of a red state, many view the shift in tolerance from marijuana with disdain. So my suggestion is to get with the program and legalize in your own states and get back fighting real crime. You know, so my thing is hey, law enforcement, legalization is coming. Get used to it. So,
if you want to fight drugs, fight the ones that are actually drugs, not the natural plants.
Exactly. So we'll see you next week, and thanks for coming in. And Hempfest coming. See ya.